This week, plans have finally dropped for the redevelopment of BT Tower. It's been closed to the public for 50 years, and back then it was the UK's tallest building and had a rooftop revolving restaurant.
The GPO Tower. From the top of this tower of technology, you'll get the best view of London there's ever been. Revolving in Butlin's top of the tower restaurant, offering you a visual menu that takes your breath, but not your appetite, away. This is the only way you can eat your way around London without overdoing it.
But in 2024, the owners revealed that they wanted to transform it into a hotel and reopen it to the public. And they've even announced that that hotel will have a rooftop pool as well, so let's just get into the plans. So this is a 188 metre grade 2 listed skyscraper right in the middle of Fitzrovia. You can see it from all over London. It is totally iconic. It used to be used for telecommunications, so it had like satellite dishes on it and like phone stuff on it. It's easily one of my favourite tall buildings in London, if not my favourite. It is like so distinctive. I love how it manages to look futuristic despite being 70 years old and also retro at the same time. A lot of cities around the world have like these sky towers. You can think of Toronto and like Seattle and Auckland that all have these buildings built for like telecommunications that have a revolving restaurant. And I guess this is like London's version, but it's so distinctly London 60s retro at the same time, and I love it. I don't think there's anything more London than BT Tower, if I'm honest. If it still looks futuristic today, I can't imagine how unbelievably like otherworldly it would have looked rising above the 1960s streets of Fitzrovia, but yeah, whatever. But all of the buildings on site are going to be retained and kind of enhanced as part of this development project. So those podium buildings that kind of surround the tower, they will all be converted into part of this hotel. So they'll all be hotel rooms as well. But the tower itself will also be converted to hotel rooms. You can see that there's old, I think they're old offices that used to be in there. They are also being converted into hotel rooms. So it's not just the podium buildings that are being converted into a hotel. You will actually be able to stay in BT Tower itself. And then the rooftop pool will be on top of one of the podium buildings there. I have seen a few kind of like AI generated images and videos doing the rounds showing a rooftop pool on top of BT Tower itself. And although that would be like really cool, sadly that's not actually what is proposed. I think they're all like AI generated. So the pool itself will be just sort of sitting on top of, you can see it here actually, it will just sit on top of one of those podium buildings, and it'll be right under the tower itself. You'll be swimming along, you'll be able to look all the way up at BT Tower, so that'll be pretty cool, I guess. And there's an implication here that there will be sort of like restaurants and stuff around the pool, which will really kind of animate that space. I imagine the pool will only be open to sort of like people staying in the hotel. That seems to make sense. I don't know if, I know that sometimes like hotels like have like public gyms and public swimming pools, but I don't know, I guess we'll have to see. I can't see anywhere, I don't think it's been revealed yet who the hotel operator will be. And then the top of the tower where that restaurant used to be, where the public viewing galleries used to be, will be reopened to the public. It seems to be implying that there'll be a restaurant will reopen up there as well. I haven't seen anywhere where it says whether or not that restaurant will be like a revolving restaurant like it used to be. I don't know why that wouldn't be. Maybe we'll get more information about that as time goes on. But it looks like there'll be a restaurant at the top floor, at least one restaurant. They're talking about having like loads of event spaces. This used to be an iconic location apparently to watch the New Year's Eve fireworks in London before the public viewing gallery closed. It used to be that people would go up there and see the fireworks. Maybe they'll lean back into that as a kind of a homage to its history. Maybe they'll have sort of like New Year's Eve celebrations up at the top of the tower as well. But you'll be able to see those 360-degree panoramic views of London that people haven't been able to see, that haven't been open to the public now for 50 years. And of course, in that time, the London skyline and the view of London has changed considerably as well. So anyone that maybe they went up there 50 years ago, anyone going back now will be able to very much compare and contrast how London has changed in the last 50 years. Yeah, I'd be interested to hear from anyone in the comments that has been up this building before, and you know, are you excited to go up it again? Are you excited to see how London has changed and what they do with BT Tower? I'd really love to read your stories in the comments if you have any, so please do share them below. And here's a render just showing the observation deck. and you'll be able to see, as I said, 360-degree panoramic view across the whole city. And you're in Fitzrovia as well, so you'll be able to get a great view over, over to the city of London, over the Shard. You'll be able to see Vauxhall down towards the west there, and probably a little glimpse of Canary Wharf as well. And Canary Wharf is just another whole area of London that did not exist 50 years ago. So in terms of that comparing and contrasting, if people went up there 50 years ago, the skyline of London won't have just changed, but it will have also grown, and not just grown in terms of like new skyscrapers, grown in terms of like entire new districts have been built in that time. And of course, while BT Tower used to be the tallest building in London, in the UK, it is like very much not the tallest building in the UK anymore. I don't know off the top of my head, but 188 metres. I don't even know if it's in the top 10 anymore. I don't think it is. I'll put a list on screen of all of the buildings in the UK that are now taller than BT Tower. I bet BT Tower isn't even in the top 10 anymore. And then on the ground floor, in the sort of the public realm area, they are opening up the site completely. So if I just show you on Google Earth here, you can see that BT Tower actually sits in the middle of this whole block here, and that's never been publicly accessible. So you've never been able to actually go down and see BT Tower rising up from the block here. You can see it's so cool. It's kind of suspended on this enormous sort of concrete plinth, and they have this this structure coming out here that they call the collar, which kind of holds it in place and connects it to the actual BT office building here. So they're going to open up that whole area to the public. They're going to have a new square around the base of BT Tower itself. That's where the hotel reception will be. There'll be loads of retail and food and beverage in that little square that they're creating at the base of BT Tower. And it looks like they're creating a lot of new active ground floor uses around the tower, not just sort of in that new square that they're creating at the centre of the site, but also on the streets kind of around it, on the sort of the perimeter of the site. So loads of new retail and food and shops and things like that. And they've created this little diagram that basically shows that they are looking at all of the other shop fronts and all of the other buildings in and around Fitzrovia and using them as inspiration. So they've kind of picked out the fact that Fitzrovia is known for its sort of like little independent businesses and little shop fronts and lots of colour and decoration and things like that, and they're hoping to sort of emulate that and recreate that in this new development. So if we look around the ground here, yeah, I mean, a lot of this building, a lot of this area as it stands, just have this like really grey frontage. They don't have any like shops or anything to sort of activate and animate the street at all. There's just buildings that sort of hit the ground. They're kind of grey, they're kind of faceless, they're kind of dull, and that's about it. So it looks like they're wanting to create a much more outward-facing development as part of this, put in loads of new cafes and loads of new restaurants and loads of new businesses that are going to create a bit of active frontage on the surrounding streets, going to add a bit of life to the surrounding streets. So yeah, we're currently in May 2026. There's been a first round of public consultation. That's this public consultation, so I'll put a link in the description to this public consultation. You can go and see the plans for yourself. You can go and comment on the plans if you want. And then they're hoping to submit a planning application in September. And then by 2029, they're hoping to start construction, or sort of, yeah, by the end of the decade, hoping to start construction on this. And they're hoping to finish in about 2033. So yeah, they're looking at about 6 or 7 years from today to get the hotel open, and therefore to get the rooftop restaurant open, and to get the public going inside BT Tower and checking out the views from the top for the first time in over 50 years. And I sort of thought, well, you know, nowadays we have loads of like public viewing galleries in London. You can go up the Shard, you can go up 22 Bishopsgate, you can go to the top of Sky Garden for free. And there's loads of other tall buildings and skyscrapers across the city and across Canary Wharf that have public viewing galleries up them. So I think when BT Tower opened, it was probably one of the only, if not the only, place that you could go up and sort of see the views of London. It's entering into a much more crowded market now, though. So I'd be interested to see what the uptake will be. One thing I will say is that obviously this is in Fitzrovia, it's in the West End, and there's barely any other tall buildings in the West End. Certainly BT Tower is like by far the tallest building in the West End. So although you could go up one of the tall buildings in the city, although you could go up one of the tall buildings in like Canary Wharf or the Shard or something like that, this will be the only building that you can go up that's any kind of height in the West End, so you will get a slightly different perspective on London. Obviously, if you're up one of the tall buildings in the city, you are in the city and you're amongst the skyscrapers. Same with if you're up the Shard or something like that. But with BT Tower, you'll be kind of removed from those tall buildings, so you'll be able to see them on the horizon, you'll be able to see the skyline, but you're really getting a different kind of perspective on London. I guess it's a bit like going up the Eiffel Tower versus going up the Tour Montparnasse or whatever. You get, from the other one, you get the view of Paris, including the Eiffel Tower, whereas if you go up the Eiffel Tower, you get the view of Paris, but you can't see the Eiffel Tower. Does that make any sense? Am I making any sense? Whatever. I think it'll be a different view. I think it'll have its own audience of people that want to go up it. I think it has its own kind of appeal. But there's not really much information on this at the moment. I've shared with you everything that is in the public consultation document. As I said, I've put a link in the description to that document so you can go and take a look at the plans for yourself. I guess we'll get a bit more information on this in the summer and as the sort of the planning application goes in. I just really wanted to do a video updating you on this project. I've wanted to do a video about BT Tower for a long time, but I think a lot of other channels have done videos on BT Tower, but I just love how distinctive it is. You're walking through Fitzrovia, it sort of hits you and you're like, oh damn, that is such a cool looking building. I absolutely love it. I hope they don't get rid of I hope they don't change the sort of the characteristic of the building too much. I hope they don't smooth it out or anything like that, because I like how it looks a bit like the sonic screwdriver from Doctor Who. I like all of those things about it. I don't want it to start looking like just a generic sky tower or anything like that, because it is really, really distinct and I don't think we should lose that. But I'm interested to see how these plans develop. Let me know in the comments if you are also interested in seeing how this develops, and I'll maybe do future videos updating on this project. But yeah, let's see where it goes. Let's see what happens with it. As I said, planning application goes in September, so that's when we'll get a lot more information about it. But as yet, we don't have too much information on it at all. Subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Here's a list of all of the videos that I'm working on at the moment that I'm going to have out in the next kind of month or so. So if you don't want to miss out on any of those, please do make sure that you're subscribed, maybe even hit that bell icon, which does something apparently. Like the video if you enjoyed it, it really does help the channel. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.